Could that innocent white pill sitting in your medicine cabinet right now be the silent financier of one of history's greatest mass killings? Bayer, the world's leading pharmaceutical giant. The creator of aspirin, a drug that has saved millions of lives. But at the same time, it's an empire that once marketed heroin as cough syrup for babies and purchased human beings from concentration camps to perform lethal experiments. This video isn't just a company profile. It's an investigation into how a single brand can become both a life-saving saint and the brain of the most horrific war machine the world has ever seen. Today we are opening the dark archives of Bayer. If you're ready, let's descend into the depths of this terrifying paradox. In August 1897, in a damp laboratory in Elberfeld, Germany, world history split in two. A chemist named Felix Hoffmann was looking at two different glass tubes. In one was aspirin, synthesized to soothe his father's rheumatic pains. In the other was diacetylmorphine, a substance that would intoxicate humanity for the next century. Stop and think about that. Within the same 10 days, the same laboratory invented both the world's best-selling medicine and its greatest narcotic plague. At the time, Bayer executives presented this discovery as a miracle. They branded heroin as a safe and non-addictive substitute for morphine. Picture the advertisements that seem impossible today. Mothers giving Bayer-branded heroin syrups to infants who couldn't sleep. The company exported this poison to the entire world, with brochures translated into 23 different languages. Was this just a marketing mistake, or was it history's first great corporate manipulation? From the top dynamics perspective, this is the ultimate butterfly effect. If Bayer hadn't aggressively pushed heroin into the global market at the end of the 19th century, the massive underground world managed by drug cartels today might never have existed. A single company's greed for profit sowed the seeds of modern society's greatest social wound. But Bayer's story took an even darker turn when it moved from the laboratory to the battlefield. By the 1920s, Germany was on the brink of economic collapse. Bayer merged with its rivals, BASF and Hoechst, to form the most powerful cartel in history, IG Farben. This wasn't just a corporate merger, it was the creation of a state within a state. IG Farben became the largest financier of the Nazi Party. Wow. Because Hitler's dream of a massive war machine couldn't function without Bayer's chemical genius. They provided the synthetic rubber for tank tires and the synthetic fuel for aircraft. But most chillingly, they provided the poisonous gases that would suffocate millions. Let's be clear. This cartel wasn't just providing logistical support. They were the architects of the war itself. Right next to the Auschwitz concentration camp, they built one of the largest factories in history, IG Auschwitz. This wasn't just a production site, it was a slave labor hub. Prisoners were worked to death to produce Bayer's chemicals. And the most horrific part? Those who became too weak to work were liquidated using Zyklon B gas, a product manufactured by the very same company. We are talking about a system that killed its own workers with its own product. Years later, when the Nuremberg trials convened, the letters found in Bayer's dusty archives chilled the blood of the judges. In one letter, a Bayer official wrote to a camp commander, "Evaluate our offer for a group of 150 female prisoners. 200 marks is too expensive. If we agree on 170 marks per person, we'll take them all." The deal was made. 150 women were purchased. They were used as test subjects for newly developed sleep medications and chemicals. A second letter sent a few months later was the peak of corporate cold-bloodedness. "The experiments are complete. All subjects have died. We expect a new shipment soon." This is the price of success. Much of the pharmacological data modern medicine relies on today was built in these dark rooms, on the screams of innocent people who never gave their consent. For decades, Bayer tried to hide this legacy behind the clinical white surface of an aspirin tablet. By 1925, this story had grown far beyond the walls of a single lab. The giants of the German chemical industry, Bayer, BASF, Hoechst, and others, shook hands to form the world's most dangerous monopoly, IG Farben. This name represented more than a business deal. It was the moment the world's most brilliant minds joined forces with the largest capital to design politics and war. Look closely at this point. What happens when a company becomes indispensable for a state's survival? IG Farben was the primary financier of the Nazi Party, but the support went far beyond money. Hitler's plan to set the world on fire was tethered to the formulas coming out of these labs. IG Farben solved Germany's dependence on foreign rubber and fuel with synthetic methods. Without the intellect contained within this group, Nazi tanks wouldn't have even crossed the border into Poland. The company wasn't just a supporter of the war, it was the fuel and the raw material of the war itself. However, this industrial revolution was fueled by inhuman brutality. The company's ambition drove them to one of the most shameful projects in history, Auschwitz III-Monowitz. This was more than a state camp, it was IG Farben's private labor camp. They built a massive factory and met their labor needs by pulling from the death camp next door. The term labor exploitation doesn't even begin to cover it. People were seen as consumable supplies to increase profit margins. The life of a prisoner who was too exhausted to work was worth less than a lump of coal. The butterfly effect here is haunting. The tires on your car today, the plastics you use, much of the foundation of these technologies was built on the blood and tears of thousands who died in the mud of Monowitz. This brand's rise was constructed over the world's largest graveyard. During the smoke and mirrors of the First World War, Bayer took a massive hit, not just ethically but commercially. The United States invoked the Trading with the Enemy Act, seizing all of Bayer's assets in America, including the most important one, the name Aspirin. This was a catastrophe. Bayer could no longer sell medicine under its own name in the US. At one point, their American factories were even auctioned off to a candy company. But how did Bayer recover? This is where the brand's cunning, brilliant strategy comes in. Through decades of legal battles, lobbying, and billions of dollars in settlements, they reclaimed their name piece by piece. While being associated with war crimes, Bayer was simultaneously playing a global game of legal chess. In 1994, when Bayer finally bought back its name and the rights to aspirin in the US for $1 billion, it wasn't just a commercial victory, it was the ultimate move in a long-term operation to scrub their history clean. After the war, IG Farben executives sat in the defendant's dock at Nuremberg. They were convicted of crimes against humanity and enslavement. But then something strange happened. As the Cold War began, the Western world decided it needed these chemical geniuses. Most of the executives were released within a few years and returned to the boards of companies like Bayer, BASF, and Hoechst. The company was broken up, but its spirit remained the same. From the 1950s onward, Bayer rebranded itself as the creator of miracle drugs. Aspirin to prevent heart attacks, chemicals to revolutionize modern agriculture, all were part of this new image. Yet the past refused to stay buried. The HIV-contaminated blood products scandal of the 1980s was another modern tragedy where profit outweighed ethics. When clotting medications carrying a high risk of HIV were banned in developed nations, records show that Bayer continued to ship the remaining stock to markets in Asia and Latin America to deplete their inventory. It was proof that the cold-blooded logic of the heroin syrup days was still very much alive. Bayer's story isn't just about war crimes trapped in dusty archives. The company continued to apply the price of success doctrine in the modern era. In 2018, Bayer made one of the riskiest moves in economic history. It purchased the agricultural giant Monsanto for $63 billion. This wasn't just a merger, it was the birth of a life sciences titan controlling the global food chain. But for Bayer, this move turned into a modern nightmare. Monsanto was the creator of the controversial weed killer Roundup and GMO seeds. Almost immediately after the purchase, Bayer found itself in the middle of tens of thousands of cancer lawsuits. The butterfly effect here is terrifying. Could a molecule created in a lab to increase efficiency bring a global giant to its knees decades later? By absorbing Monsanto, Bayer effectively bought the title of the most hated company in the world. Their stock prices plummeted, leading to one of the largest losses in market value in corporate history. The price of success this time was billions in settlement checks and a shattered reputation. The mid-1980s saw another of the most shameful chapters in Bayer's modern history. The company produced a blood-clotting agent called Factor VIII for hemophiliacs. But there was a tragic catch. The plasma used to produce it carried a high risk of HIV. When health authorities in the US and Europe realized the danger and banned the drug, Bayer was left with a massive stockpile. What did the company do? They reportedly continued to export the HIV risk products to countries like Taiwan, Hong Kong, and across Latin America where regulations were looser. The result? Thousands of hemophiliacs contracted HIV from the very medicine meant to save them. It was a stark reminder that beneath the sterile white lab coats, the cold, profit-driven mindset of the 1940s was still active. Let's go back to that white tablet and the logo we discussed at the beginning. The Bayer cross is one of the 10 most recognized symbols in the world. Why is it so successful? Since 1904, that cross has projected stability and authority. But through the top dynamics lens, that logo has another meaning. It is the patent seal on both the world's greatest medical breakthroughs and its most horrific chemical weapons, narcotic advertisements, and unethical experiments. Today, Bayer spends billions on sustainability and ethics reports, trying to erase the weight of its legacy with a digital age image. But with every new scandal, the cracks on that white tablet get a little wider. Now we come to the ultimate question. What would the world look like if Bayer and its dark genius never existed? Perhaps millions of people wouldn't have survived without aspirin. Perhaps modern agriculture wouldn't be this productive. But perhaps the horrific experiments in concentration camps would never have happened. Perhaps chemicals like Agent Orange, used in the Vietnam War, would never have been invented. Bayer is one of the rare organizations that holds the title of both humanity's greatest savior and its most terrifying executioner at the same time. How do you measure a brand's success? Is it by the number of lives saved, or by the billions of dollars paid in settlements? Bayer's story hasn't stayed in the past. Today, the company is drawing a new frontier with a vision of re-engineering humanity through digital health and genetic engineering. The price of success is no longer just in chemical tubes. It's being paid directly in our genetic codes. As they move into gene therapies and cancer treatments, a massive question remains. Can we trust our DNA to a structure that has historically crossed ethical lines so easily? The crisis that began with the Monsanto acquisition was actually the result of Bayer's ambition to move from being a pharmaceutical company to a life control company. One hand controlling our food, our medicine, and eventually our genetic structure. This is the most modern link in the butterfly effect. The step a young chemist took in 1897 to find a painkiller has evolved into a massive algorithm that monopolizes the global food chain in human biology. Why do we still trust Bayer? Why does that logo still promise us healing? Because Bayer is the world's most successful example of trust marketing. For over a century, after every sin they committed, they managed to launch a scientific revolution large enough to make the world forget. They covered the heroin scandal with aspirin, their Nazi past with the agricultural revolution, and modern scandals with cutting-edge cancer research. It is proof that a brand can manage not just its products, but the memory of history itself. But here at Top Dynamics, we look at the part of the iceberg beneath the surface. Bayer's history is a lesson in how ambition, genius, and conscience can be sacrificed for one another. On one side, technologies that extend human life. On the other, the innocent lives spent to develop them. This balance is woven into the brand's existential DNA. Ultimately, if Bayer didn't exist, the modern world would be unrecognizable. Perhaps wars would have been shorter, perhaps the drug crisis wouldn't be this severe, but perhaps medicine wouldn't have advanced this quickly. Every move the company made left an irreversible mark on the fabric of history. Now it's time to face the reality. When you open your medicine cabinet and pick up that white tablet, are you just looking at a painkiller? Or are you the end user of a century-long operation involving blood, gunpowder, profit, and healing? The choice is yours. But remember, behind every great success, there is often a price heavier than the world is willing to see. The Bayer file is just one example of modern industry. Do you believe a company's dark legacy can truly be erased by its modern successes? Or do some sins remain forever in the flow of history? Share your thoughts in the comments. This isn't just a discussion for historians, it's for those who shape the future. If you want to continue discovering the secret and dark stories of giant brands that change the world, subscribe to Top Dynamics and turn on notifications. In our next video, we'll pull back the curtain on another power that dictates the course of the world. Until then, stay curious and keep questioning.